If you don't read, your attention span will be destroyed. Now, at this time, everything is moving so fast. There's about 10,000 ads in your face all the time. Now, it is a good thing, you could say, but most believe it's a bad thing. I believe it's a good thing because you could still train your mind to increase your attention span. And how do you do that is by reading. The other day I tweeted why most hate reading. 1. Early involuntary reading in a classroom setting. 2. Alternative forms of entertainment. 3. Digital distraction. Finding information is more challenging than watching. Reading to finish, not learn. And 5. Decreased attention span. So in this video, I'll cover all these 5 categories or points that I made on this tweet. If you guys are interested in more tweets from me, then do go over to X and type in Tashini Max, and you can find my tweets easily. So just out there sharing ideas about having a calm mind, having a fit body, and having a loving household. Involuntary reading in a classroom setting. I remember when I was a kid, middle school, my high school, I never really liked reading books. When I think about it now, I think one of the main reasons was because I was forced to read in my classrooms. I did have friends that were bookworms. They were all into Alex Rider, all into Game of Thrones, all into Harry Potter. But I remember giving up reading Harry Potter after the second book just because I couldn't get into it. And I felt bad because I couldn't get into it, even though all my friends were talking about it and I wanted to be in that cool book club. My teacher would force me to read The Great Gatsby, force me to read Shakespeare and all the other books that were part of the curriculum. It was sort of unfortunate when I think about it because I could have actually fell in love with books at a very young age, but it didn't happen because I was involuntarily reading things that I didn't want to read about. I just wasn't good at finding good books, and that's the case for most people. I'm not blaming my classmates or anything because it's my own lack of awareness to not be able to read. One of the first things and the greatest thing you can ever do to yourself is to take full responsibility of the choices that you make. You cannot blame your parents, your family, or friends of whatever circumstances that you've been through because you are responsible. But I think we kind of dislike the fact that we read involuntarily at a very young age. We kind of just had a hard time reading and start to read. If you're someone that resonates with this statement and you feel like this was the case for you and you're still struggling to start reading books now at a later age, my first message is it's never too late. And I fundamentally believe that reading will increase your attention span, and it is actually important right now, especially because everyone is getting information without effort. Because you're watching. Video is the new information source, but your ability to find information instead of just relaxing and chilling and just letting information come to you, it's a very powerful tool because now you are creating, you're not just consuming. So if you can become a creator by just finding informations, and which for most cases it's reading. When you're reading, you're finding information. Whereas when you're watching, you're just consuming. It sticks longer if you read, especially if you have good why questions. So that's the case. And if you're stuck with this, I would recommend starting off small. Read a book that you like. Most people don't find a book that they like. So read books that you like. And one of the best things Naval talks about, Naval Ravikant, you should read anything until you fall in love with reading. You should read until you fall in love with reading. And it could be about anything. The whole point is for you to become a reader. It's not for you to just know this one book and get a good grade on it. Second point, alternative forms of entertainment. In the digital age, it's very hard to read because there's so many other ways to be entertained. You can pretty much, especially with shorts now, with the reels, with TikTok, it's so hard for you to read long. It's hard for you to pay attention for more than a couple seconds now. And because of all these scientists being really good at their craft of grabbing your attention, it's pretty hard for the average person to really know what they're consuming and pay attention, to have awareness, to find information instead of just consuming information. So that's really important, is because there's alternative forms of entertainment, it is that much more important for you to read. And how can you do this? I'm not an expert at this, so I would recommend an expert at this, and he's mostly known for digital minimalism, like how to get rid of digital distraction. And if you go on YouTube, you can find Cal Newport. So Cal Newport, I believe he's a computer scientist. I read his book, Deep Work, a long time ago, and it pretty much teaches about how to fall into this flow state of accomplishing tasks. But what's so amazing about it is after you finish the task, you get this small or a good amount of happiness after you finish the task. And what's so amazing about it is you get really good at focusing, and focusing is the future. Digital minimalism, and the most expert at this I know so far is Cal Newport. So find his books. I believe he has written more books now. There's a new book called Slow Productivity, which I haven't read yet, but check out his work because I think it's very relevant right now. Reading to finish, not to learn. So everybody's reading to finish a book. If you ask anyone, everyone's stuck on one book, right? You're always stuck on some book. There was this girl in my class, and I don't remember which book she was reading, but she was reading this one. I think it was like a sci-fi book, and she was stuck on that book for 4 months. And then our exams were coming up, and she was stressing over whether to finish the book or to finish or study for the exam. And I think there's many people like her. And the fact is, you kind of guilt yourself in not being able to finish the books, but you don't realize that at this day and age, there's so much more alternative attention grabbing entertainment sources that it is so hard for you to focus and try to finish the book. And I don't blame her. You know, it's quite tough now. Like it's quite tough to finish a book, to be honest. And that's why it's important for you to check out Cal Newport's work, to be able to control your urges, to be able to focus longer. These are the important points. You know, reading to finish, not learn. It's what I meant to say in this short statement is, I remember watching Joe Rogan's podcast, and he was interviewing Naval Ravikant, and Naval Ravikant was saying that his whole premise was basically that everyone right now, their attention span has been destroyed because of the internet. Now, when the early internet, not too bad, but now because of short form videos and short form content and like Twitter, you know, everything is short and bite-sized, right to the point, direct. Reading something with anecdote, reading something with multiple points. If it's not a list, if a paragraph is boring, a list is better because it's direct and is straight to the point. Because our brain has been trained and conditioned to be like this, it's hard for us to finish a book. And I feel like you should maybe kind of take a 180 degree and or assess yourself and think, how can I take advantage of being a person that has short attention span? And Naval says you can actually read specific chapters that you actually like about the book instead of just finishing the book. And he says he carries a Kindle with himself, or even you can use the Kindle app in your iPhone. And instead of just scrolling on Instagram or TikTok, what you can do is have the Kindle app. I'm just giving an example for the phone. Have the Kindle app at the lower dock, so it's like it's easy for you to access. And whenever you're waiting at a line or you're bored, you can just read a specific chapter of whatever book that you want in your library. That's taking advantage of being a person that has a short attention span. And I think that's very powerful. And it's very powerful. I've been doing it for a couple months now, and then I would sometimes, I would have my Kindle right next to my pillow so that when I'm about to go to bed, I could read a little bit of whatever book that I want. Now, I've been experimenting with it. I kind of dislike it just because it feels like I'm not learning as much. I don't know why. I'm also conditioned to finish a book, so I've been kind of struggling with it. But he says he does, and I think he knows what he's talking about, so I've been experimenting with it. And you should experiment it and see how it feels like. Maybe it might be easier for you to adapt and have that in your life. But for me, I've still been struggling with it even after a couple months. Now, the last point is, decreased attention span. So why most hate reading is because you have decreased your attention span. All right, guys, I'll see you guys in the next video.